Hello, good morning. How are you guys doing? Sadly, on our last day of conference, I could definitely use some more days. It's been incredible. I'm here to share with you a little bit of the data that we are doing with Professor Toffoli at Unicamp. Lucas, a colleague and a friend, is working with me as well. I'm currently doing my master's at Unifesp, Federal University of São Paulo, but I'm collaborating in this work at Unicamp. So I'm going to share with you a little bit of ayahuasca and quitting smoking. Smoking is one of the major health issues that we face nowadays in the world. We have a total amount of 5 million deaths related to smoking problems a year in the United States. And in Brazil, smoking is responsible for more or less 12% of deaths. So we spend a total amount of approximately 40 billion reais a year. It will be more or less 8 billion euros a year. Even though smoking has a decreased trend among the last years, we still see rates on about 8% of smokers throughout teenagers in Canada. And when we go to Brazil, these rates can go up to 13%. And what is difficult about smoking is the treatment. I mean, we have some categories of treatment that could be pharmacological or behavioral, or we could use nicotine replacement. But all of these treatment combined, we have a success rate below that 35% when considering abstinence for a year. So it's a very problematic treatment. And so we have a need for new treatments and for new perspectives on this worldwide problem. And here we go back again to the psychedelics. And we have a pretty good research in the psychedelics in addiction. We can cite LSD for alcohol as well as ayahuasca, ibogaine. But I would like to stretch out here 2 studies on smoking with psilocybin. One, we have a pilot study with psilocybin as a treatment for tobacco addiction. And it's an open label study, but we have an intervention with tabagism treatment and psilocybin, and we got a rate of 80% of people abstinent for smoking when counting for 6 months. It's really impressive rates, but it's an open label study and we need more data about that. And more recently, we have an online survey on tobacco quitting after psychedelics experience. And what the authors find out that changes in meaning of life and behavior helped people to stop smoking. So how could the psychedelics influence the tobacco smoking or other substance addiction? Well, Bogenschutz made a theoretical scheme for how this could proceed. And I don't want to get really deep in here, but I would just like to stretch that we have a branch that is physiological aspects of smoking, the effects on smoking or addiction, and we have a psychological. In one way, we would have brain effects, changing the neurotransmitters, followed by neuroplasticity. And the other, we would have psychological effects such as mystical experience and psychological insights. These two would lead to changing personality, changing beliefs and values, improve the mood and decrease anxiety that would directly influencing behaviors related to the addiction, such as decreasing of craving, enhance of self-efficacy, and increasing motivation. I would like to go a little bit deeper here in the mystical experience that have been studied for a while. It started with William James and with Penck that structuralized this knowledge. And I would just like to remember that mystical experience is an experience that is not necessarily related to religiosity, but have some features in common among all the cultures. That will be the experience of profound unity with all that exists, a felt sense of sacredness, sense of the experience of truth and reality at a fundamental level, deeply felt positive mood, transcendence of time and space, and difficulty in explaining the experience in words. I believe that most of you here have felt something similar in ayahuasca experiences. And to assess a mystical experience, we have a psychometrical instrument that's called Mystical Experience Questionnaire, or MEQ, that is divided in 4 factors, or 4 subscales, that assess the mystical experience, the positive mood, and the ineffability, and the transcendence of time and space. So, where do ayahuasca enters here? Well, ayahuasca is a widely substance used in Brazil, and we have anecdotal evidence that ayahuasca helps in smoking abstinence. We have a lot of people that say they stopped smoking after ayahuasca ceremonies, and then we wanted to assess how this work in ayahuasca. So the objective of our study is to characterize a report of smoking cessation or reductions attributed to the ayahuasca experience. We want to verify the associated factors with the smoking cessation after ayahuasca experience, and to verify if the mystical experience is associated with smoking cessation. So how did we do that? We conducted an online survey that was open for more or less 3 months, and we made a questionnaire, and we asked directly people who had had the experience with ayahuasca. So this is very important. We are not evaluating the prevalence of people who stopped smoking, but we are exploring the characteristics of people that had this experience. So only people that reduced or stopped smoking participating on our research. So we had a demographic questionnaire. We have a questionnaire for assessing ayahuasca and smoking experience. And we have some psychometric instruments validated for Brazilian population, such as this questionnaire of smoking urges to assess the smoking urges of the participants. We applied this questionnaire nowadays and in retrospective for the 6 months before this experience that made the people stop smoking. We have a Farragon test for cigarette dependence that we asked about in the pre-experience. And we applied as well the mystical experience questionnaire to assess the mystical experience. And we got a total of 441 valid answers, and we divided these answers in 2 groups. That was a quit group and a reduced group. And all the analysis we done was in that. So just to characterize our sample, our quit group were weekly distributed in sex. We had more people in relationship, but less people with children, the same proportion of scholarity, and fewer people studying. When we go to smoking and ayahuasca characteristics, our quit group had smoked for long periods, smoked more or less the same quantity, and had experienced long ago the ayahuasca experience. And they drink ayahuasca more frequently, as well as I had more intentional quit smoking. I would just like to stretch it out the prevalence of intention to reduce smoke prior to the experience. Very few people went to the ceremony with the intention of quitting smoking. Nevertheless, a lot of people quitted. And here we have some graphics on the nicotine dependence. We can see that the quit group had a higher dependence. And when we go to the smoking urges, we see that the quit group had higher rates of urges and finished with less rates of urges. This is interesting, but we may have a lot of confounding factors because it's a convenience sample. So what we did is to do a logistic regression to control all the possible confounding factors. Basically, in a logistic regression, we have a dependent variable when we have two groups, and our predictors will say the probability of belonging to one or another group. So we gather all of these variables: sex, age, children, relationship status, occupational status, scholarity, years of smoking, nowadays ayahuasca frequency, and time the experience took part, and we put all of this variable into a model, so our analysis was controlled by all of this, and we got this table. I've just stretched here the results that were significant, and we can see that people that are in a relationship, they have a relationship status works as a protective factor. So people that are in a relationship had 82% of chance to pertense on the quit group. And when we go to the ayahuasca frequency, we see that people that drink ayahuasca 15 days or more have 216% more chance to pertense in the quit group. And when we go to the mystical experience, we see that also acts as a protective factor, and the positive mood of the mystical experience acts as a risk factor. So as the higher the people mark in the positive mood, less the chance of belonging to the quit group. And going back to this theoretical scheme proposed by Bogenschutz, we see that the mystical experience acting in the psychological aspects of the ayahuasca experience could be related to smoking sensation. In our data, we saw that higher scores in the mystical experience is associated with higher chance of pertencing to the quit group. And as well as improved, the mood seems to be important as well, but not as a protective factor, but as a risk factor. It seems that for smoking cessation to have an experience that is kind of challenge is important for this outcome. I would like to stretch it out a little bit of more results. That is, we asked to our participants if they have seen another modifications after the ayahuasca experience, and most of them said that they felt more modifications, and they were related to alcohol reduction, relationship, diet habits, work, among others. In conclusion, I would like to stretch out that Our data supports the finding that the mystical experience is present in ayahuasca and may influence the reduce of smoking, as well as the frequency of ayahuasca intake. We have a really large effect size for people that drink ayahuasca more frequently. Smoking cessation is a promising area to be studying, mainly in ayahuasca, that we have a lot of anecdotal evidence that people stop smoking. And I would like to thank all our team, Lucas, which is here in the table, Caroline, and Luis Fernando Toffoli, that is the head of this research. Thank you.